thank you very much for everybody. We've been into a long day. We want you to join us now into a session which is going to go through Timisoara, also the history, the cultural heritage, the architecture, the streets. Like a tourist, you will be able to join around as a tourist quite soon with our guide, who is Associate Professor and Vice Dean at the Faculty of Architecture, a famous architect in itself, Cristi Blidaru. And before that, I will start, and also we have a lot of people from the community here, from the STEAM community around Timisoara, but I will shortly just play a tiny video about Timisoara first, and then we'll go directly to Cristi. Oh, sorry, let me share my screen. And then you will be able to go through all of these parts of the city. In fact, I will just tell you something. This is the famous Uniri Square, United Square, which is very beautiful Baroque style. Timisoara is called the Little Vienna. In fact, I'm giving them a lapse, Cristi. This is the Liberty Square, and you will go through all of these streets. These are the famous umbrellas, which normally in June should be up for celebrating the spring and the summer night in Timisoara. This is the Bega River, very, very much high this year. We had flooded, a lot of flooding in this weekend in Timiș County, not in the city. But this is beautiful, as you can see it in the summer. Now, as I said, it's raining in Timisoara. It was raining a bit. And we have from the Center of E-Learning a very beautiful view. This is a view exactly like ours from the team office, not from our office. I see the sports field of the university. This is the parks. Timisoara is famous for almost 12 hectares of parks in the city, which are spread around the Bega River and also inside the city. The Baroque style of Uniri Square, this is, we call it an area with the parks, which is with the old water mill, with the water pump of Timisoara. This is the famous Catholic dome in Timisoara. The Bega River, in fact, our plan was that on Sunday evening to have a trip on the Timisoara River with the boats. We have 4 large boats of the Timisoara, which are called Vaporetto, which are like buses here. So you can go around the city, different points of the city with the buses. And the point was the mayor gave the right to use the boats for 2 hours for the EDEN participants. So our plan was that we will go around and have a drink on the boats while seeing Timisoara from the river. But unfortunately, next time. So hopefully next year you are going to come to Timisoara to be able to see again the old city. Now it's getting dark. It's like now, and these are the nice, beautiful images. This is the Victoria Square. That's the University Rectorate, the Polytechnica, the main building of our university, where the rector and Radu Vasiu, the president, has their offices and so on. We stay in a very nice new building, which I'm happy with that. And this is the famous cathedral of Timisoara, which is unique in its style, but Cristi will probably say a bit more about that later on. And yeah, the famous trams. Timisoara is famous to be in Europe, to have the first electric tram in Europe. It's called the Little Vienna because being part of the Habsburg Empire for a while, it was like a test bed for Vienna. Even the opera is designed by the same architects which designed the Vienna Opera, and it's a smaller scale, quite similar, I think, with the Vienna Opera. And this is a view in the night with the cathedral. This is the similar view which Silviu, Vlad, Andrei, Mugu, Rafa has in every day from their office. Not in the night, but during the day. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll stop here and we'll move to Cristi. So Cristi, the floor is yours. You are in front of the main building where we were supposed to be, in fact, now, if we would have been in Timisoara.
Exactly. Thank you, Diana. It's indeed we are in front of the building that should have housed your conference. From what I understand, it is the building of the Polytechnical Library, and actually we are standing right on the border between the two main universities. That actually there are three of them, but the two main universities are housed in this area. We have the Polytechnical University with its library and its campus that's behind us. And to my right, we have the West University, which houses the humanities. So it's a place of conference of ideas and experiments. It is very a place that is always alive with people, with students, with professors. Unfortunately, now the situation is so that we do not see a lot of people here. It's true that it has been raining cats and dogs for the past, I would say, 3 weeks in Timisoara, not only hours. And hopefully in the next 2 hours that we will be having this virtual tour, we will be spared of more rain so that we can present you more of our, we say, beautiful town. As you have seen in the video that Diana has just presented you, Timisoara is a city of many contrasts, of many histories. I will try to explain a bit how it came to be. It is a city that kept reinventing itself throughout the centuries. I would say that you can go far as back as 800 years. And since that, let's say, first tested document that said anything about this place, the city has reinvented itself at least 3 times. We had the medieval city, then we had an Ottoman city for almost 2 centuries, and then the final stage that we will see was built by the Austrians starting with the early 18th century. Before we do that and we look at some of the interesting sides of our town, we have to say a bit of what will happen in the next 100 minutes, roughly. We will splice into our tour different videos presenting more of the city life, but also we will have presentations from our partners. Raditichu, for example, and One Mocha will be presenting their projects that are, I think, very much related to the topics that have been discussed today during the conference, if I'm not mistaken. So this will be, we will try to make it as interactive as possible and have maybe in the end even Q&A if you have questions regarding what you have seen in either the presentations or the tour, please feel free to address them. As I said, this is the campus. We are, if you have been here right now, you would have noticed that it is very central in the city. The Baga River is flowing just in front of me behind these buildings, which of course you do not see right now. There's like sports bases here, campuses for the youth. Right in front of the campus, but what we will do now is start moving along this path, going towards the city center. It has started raining again. Let's see how this turns out to be. And we will stop at the Baga River. I will tell you more about the importance of this river in the geography of the city, in how it helped to develop the city's economy, and then we will move towards the main squares. I think until we'll be able to do that, maybe we can have a presentation from one of our partners, and that will allow us to move 5 minutes a bit to the center of town. So Diana, I am passing this to you from this moment
Thank you, and put your umbrella up. It's raining
Yes.
cats and dogs already here.
Yes, it is.
I can't believe this luck.
This will be very interesting, and it is extremely interesting for me because I do not see anybody. So I'm just seeing Rafa here in front of me with his camera and umbrella. So I have no idea who I'm speaking with, but I forgot to say hello. It's really nice to somehow feel you because I do not see you. And hear from you, of course, if you have questions. And I hope this will be as interesting as it appears to be for us also. In the rain, well, you have the advantage of being at home and having a glass of wine, but we will have our wines after we finish. So be sure of that. Okay, so let's move
Yeah,
on,
thank you,
Rafa. And
Christy.
yes,
We'll see
no
you
problem.
later on. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, so we go now to Silvio. Silvio, can you please join us? We had in the last, in fact, in the last 5 years, quite a lot of us, we've been dreaming almost. I had this idea about 5-6 years ago to build up a digital project which was going to tell in an interactive way the stories of Timisoara, not only the buildings, but also the stories of the people which were living into it, and to have a participatory culture and heritage where people will also share their stories. So we started this project, we call it Spotlight Heritage. We done one of the oldest neighborhoods in Timisoara, Josephine neighborhood, and Sylvia is going to present as Hash, Spotlight Heritage as we call it first, which is also with a lot of augmented and virtual reality things in it. So Sylvia, please.
Yes, of course, I'm trying now to play the video first, short but nice video, and then I'll talk some more, just a moment, so I can figure this out. I'm going to play live from YouTube. Let's see if this works. I should also have my computer sound on. Okay. Good. So Spotlight Heritage is a digital storytelling platform for our cultural heritage. And it's quite a collection of digital elements like mobile apps with augmented reality, virtual reality, website, but also a series of, how to call it, classic events like exhibitions at the museum, guided tours and events for children and so on. I'm going to show you a little bit of the mobile application now, and I'm going to find here a user called Spotlight Heritage. It's my phone, and I'll try to share it. Let's see if I can make it work. Okay. It's a co-host now. And I want to find it here. I hope you can. Sorry. I hope you can hear me now. Okay, thank you, Diana, for spotlighting the screen. And this is the Spotlight Heritage application. It's showing you the interesting points that you can visit in Timisoara on the map. And you can also see the list of landmarks that is here. I'm trying to touch the icon because it's hidden by some controls of Zoom. Okay, I'll go like this and show you, for example, the Palace of Water that is very near to the university. And you can see a description of the location. You can see a lot of past photos, how it looked then, and also how it looks now. This is what you could have been visiting if you are here. And also it can play a short video about that building. I don't know if you hear the sound, but anyway, I'm not going to let the video play over. I'm going to get back to the application and show you that you can also visit the place in 360 degrees photos. I'm just moving around my phone now. I can also show you another place that's maybe even more interesting. It's the water tower. Let me see. Yep, this is the one. It's the old water tower of the city. And we have here some 360 degrees photos. This is really from the water tower from above. And you can see a view of the city. And also you can see inside the water tower. It's in the process of renovation now. So this is the virtual reality kind of part of the application. And we also have augmented reality. And I'm going to show you now, of course, it would be much more realistic if you would be there and I would be near the building. But I'm going to show you, I have a picture of the building on my computer and I'm going to scan it. I'm going to touch this button here for augmented reality. And this is my home, my computer, and I'm going to scan around me and it recognizes the photo of the building. And I can superimpose the old image of the building on top of the building itself, like I would be there exactly in front of the building. And you can see that it shows how it looked like in the past and how it looks like now. So all of this information you can find in the application. I'll give you the website. Yep, so this is, yeah, it's working with 2 devices. So this is the website. Yes. I'm going to briefly share it with you. This is the website of the project. I'm going to change the language in English. If you search on your mobile phone for Spotlight Timisoara, you can find the application both for iPhone and Android, and you can download the application on your computer, and you can admire Timisoara from far away, let's say like this. So Spotlight Timisoara, look on your app store, and also search for it on the web. Thank you very much. I'll pass the microphone to Diana.
Thank you very much, Silvio. This was really very, very interesting. It's a project, as I said, we've been working a whole team here from the Banat museums and so on. And I'm so pleased in a way that we managed to do it. And we are doing now another neighborhood, the neighborhood, in fact, where the university is located, the Elizabethan neighborhood. The opening fully digitally, and we don't know if face-to-face or remotely, is going to be in September of the new exhibition. And in every year we plan to do another neighborhood to tell the stories of the buildings and of the places and of the location. Christy, we are at the Bega River.
Yes, exactly.
It's not raining that bad, but it's still raining.
It's not raining. It is still raining, but hopefully we will be able to pass through this phase. I'm really glad that you presented the Spotlight Heritage program now, because I think it is important to state that Timisoara will be capital of culture, or was supposed to be in 2021. We don't know exactly what will happen now with the pandemic situation. It will be probably moved, but the project that you presented is part of the larger, let's say, ensemble of projects that are supporting this this program. And we are right now on the Bega River, which was used as one of the main ideas, driving forces for the Capital of Culture program. As Timisoara was, as the Bega River, to be more precise, was imagined as a flow of ideas, as a space where all these cultures that make up our city are meeting. And it is, in fact, the driving force behind Timisoara. It was the first thing that the Austrians, when they reconquered the city from the Ottoman Empire, started to clean. What I didn't get to say is that Timisoara is a city that was built on marshes, and it was actually imagined and built up from this type of watery soil through hard work. Each inch of ground had to be reconquered from the waters, and what was left is this river, this canal, which was really important for the economy of the city, because most of the trade that took the agricultural products and the industrial products that were done here in the city were taken towards the rest of the empire and the rest of Europe on this canal. In the 30s, almost 1 million tons of freight was being transported on the Bega Canal. Of course, now this is no longer the case. Bega has been turned into a leisure area and the backbone for the cultural program. And when I say that it is the backbone for the cultural program, I'm thinking of all the activities that will happen along the Bega channel, the museums, the galleries, the future building, the multiplexity, how it is called, which tries to combine art and technology, which will be the flagship building of the Capital of Culture program, will be built somewhere towards the exit of the city, but next to the channel. So the channel will be the driving force, uniting all the quarters of the city. The Josephine area that my colleague described only moments ago with the Spotlight Heritage is to the south of us. So the Bega is actually dividing the different quarters of the city. We have the Josephine, the Cetate quarter, the Fabrik quarter, which was the old industrial area. They were all somehow connected by this river. As you can see, it started raining again, so we are a bit unlucky with this weather. If you look, Rafa, maybe you can show, I think we already did, we can see the Orthodox Cathedral, which is the main, let's say, spiritual place of the city for the Orthodox faith. Right now, most of the populace of Timisoara is Romanian ethnicity and Orthodox faith, I would say about 90%. But this used to be different only a century ago. The city was more multicultural. It still is, but there was, I would say, an equal share between Germans, Romanians, Hungarians, and Serbians. For this matter, we like to brag about ourselves as being a small European Union even before this existed, this concept existed, because people here of different ethnicities and faiths have always accepted each other, and this has been a city of tolerance. And maybe this is not accidental for the fact that this is the place where the Romanian anti-communist revolution started back in 1989. We will see the space where this happened in about 10-15 minutes when we will move to that square. What can I say? This is probably one of the nicest places in the town, and usually you have to take a stroll by bike. As you can see, there are lots of bikers on the banks to see the entire city, either from the Vaporetto, as Diana proposed and had this plan to do. You can see one going right now. Rafa is showing it to you, or by bike, or just simply by foot. It takes an hour to go from one part of the city to the other, from one exit to the other exit. Okay, we will now move towards the city center. We will look at the Orthodox Cathedral, at the Opera House, and the building that houses the rectorate of the Polytechnical University, which is one of the most beautiful and most important buildings in Timisoara, and we will talk more about it. So, Diana, I'm sending you the transmission, and I suggest that we look at the movie that was done for the Lumen performance organized by the Timisoara Cultural Association only a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. And this happened in the area of the old port. As I said, Timisoara used to be, let's say, a place where ships carrying different types of freight, of agricultural products were shipped all over Europe. The port is no longer in use, but several cultural events happened there. So maybe we should see that movie until we move to our next stop.
Thank you very much, Christy. We will see also the video about Lumen quite soon, but we will first be able to go and to see some of the projects which we have. And I'll go to Romanian Science Festival to my colleague and friend Oana Romocea, who she's going to speak about a great event which is happening here, and where we've been also part this morning in the plenary session in the video which was showcasing the e-learning center. We've shown also some tiny images from your Romanian Science Festival, in fact. So please, quite briefly, Oana.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Diana, for inviting me, and thank you to your team for together a video presentation of the festival, which we will show shortly. But just to present the story of the festival in a few words and introduce the project to you. It's quite a new project, actually. We are called Romanian Festival, Romanian Science Festival, just for the last 10 months, because we had 2 years ago a pilot project which we called Timisoara Science Festival, where we wanted to bring science to the community of Timisoara and especially the school children. And we thought, well, let's just organize the event, a two-day event, where we actually, the main aspect of the festival is to connect the Romanian diaspora, which is spread all over the world and is very much present in many universities throughout Europe and Northern Europe. And I think probably you might know Romanians at your institutions as well. So we've realized that there is a great asset there, that we should make more of that expertise. So we came up with the idea of the two-day festival, and I shall let the story be said by the video images, and then I will say some more. Thank you, Vlad, for sharing the...
Would a robot be able to help me with my homework? Is it difficult to become an astronaut? I will create a medical robot that can treat any disease. I hope I'll become an astronaut when I'm older.
Romanian Science Festival was founded with the aim of answering such questions raised by the inquisitive minds of children all over Romania. The story began in 2019, when 4 Romanians, who at the time were affiliated at the University of Oxford, got together and organized the first National Science Festival in Romania. The main purpose was to create a link between children from diverse backgrounds from all over the country and Romanian researchers from all corners of the world. Romanian Science Festival has a clear mission: to inspire and challenge people of all ages and backgrounds to better understand the world around us. We encourage curiosity as a means of exploring the universe. What do we want to achieve? We have 3 specific goals. Firstly, we want to promote science through non-formal education, aimed at both children and the general public. Romania has a long...
I think the video got stuck a bit.
Yeah, I think the connection of Vlad, who is sharing it, maybe you can go over this moment, Vlad. Is it allowing you to move? Yes, now it's
sciences using a theoretical approach. So, we aim to enhance the science learning experience included in the school curricula by explaining difficult concepts in a more accessible and practical way, by talking about the latest scientific discoveries, and by offering practical and interactive experiments for a better understanding. Our second goal is to provide different role models to children from Romania. Many children, especially from disadvantaged backgrounds, lack role models who can guide their future careers. Through Romanian Science Festival, we create a solid connection between the Romanian academic diaspora and the local educational setting, with top scientists and professionals interacting directly with students. Last but not least, Romanian Science Festival is a platform where people share their passion for science. We partner with local science clubs, NGOs, local authorities, and other institutions who want to share their work and passion with the members of the public. We aim to create a strong scientific community equipped to innovate the science education in Romania. What are the main chapters of the Romanian Science Festival story? In various cities, we organize open-air science festivals with hundreds of volunteers who design and showcase experiments from different STEM disciplines. In 2019 alone, we gathered more than 600 volunteers in Timisoara, Baia Mare, and Pitești, who presented their experiments to more than 20,000 participants. Our mentors, Romanian experts who live or study abroad, spend an entire day visiting schools and inspiring children with the latest scientific research and discoveries. In 2019, 34 mentors went to 20 schools in 3 cities to present their work and inspire children to pursue their dreams and ambitions. In 2020, because of the coronavirus pandemic, schools worldwide were closed. Romanian Science Festival was present online, twice a week beginning with April, bringing mentors on screen who presented live webinars where they drew on their academic experience and expertise. Topics included astronomy and space exploration, artificial intelligence, medical imaging, neuroscience, cancer research, and many more. The live webinars inspired thousands of people online. Another part of our story is the Romanian Science Festival online school, where our mentors connected with schools from all over the country participating in online classes. 55 schools from remote villages, big cities, private schools, and even homeschooling institutions have signed up to invite a Romanian Science Festival mentor to talk with their students. More than 1,000 children from all regions of the country benefited from this experience, meeting successful professionals who encouraged them to find and pursue their passions. And this is just the beginning. The Romanian Science Festival story will continue because our team is determined to create a systemic impact in education. We will continue to add new chapters to the festival story, stimulating the curiosity and imagination of people fascinated by science.
So as you can see, although we are not 1 year old officially yet, we'll turn 1 in September. Our story has already developed quite fast, and that's because we have created a really lovely community of researchers, Romanian researchers who are from the academic diaspora who just want to give back actually to the communities they are coming from. So that's why we want to go and visit schools. And I think the main drive of our project is that we want to change the paradigm, the education paradigm in Romania, or at least, you know, contribute to this by really inspiring kids to be curious and encourage the community to just explore the world and understand the world around them, and challenge the educational system in any way possible we can. Because I think there is great capital of, you know, in Romania, and people capital, and there are a lot of potential at school level, and we want to make the most of it, and we want that capital to stay home when they grow up. So basically we have two roles. We create content. We are content creators because we make use of the expertise that already exists in the diaspora, and we want to provide role models through the researchers that join our community for the children, for the school children in Romania. Because you never know, just one meeting can really shift the direction of one's life, one kid's life, and especially now when we went online to when the school were during the lockdown, we visited 1,000 children from villages that we had no idea existed on the Romanian maps, but on the Romanian map, and we found and we found absolutely amazing kids. And like one researcher from the University of Oxford, she's studying astronomy there, and she went to an online class in Tur Ghidat, a small city in the center of Romania, and she said, I saw a 12-year-old girl fascinated by astronomy there, And when I looked at her and I discussed with her, I saw myself at that age. So you never know. One encounter just can make a big difference in a kid's life. So I think this is one. The whole project is volunteer based. Everyone is involved voluntarily. It's pro bono involvement in this. And it's just great people who came together. And the whole story began in Oxford. As we said, founders, we all were Oxford based at some point. My 3 colleagues were actually they are researchers in STEM disciplines. My academic background is social sciences, but I used to work for the University of Oxford about 9 years in communications. So I do have I've helped academics to take their researches and present it to different audiences and package their kind of message appropriately to different segments of audience, and build events and different, kind of content around academic resources. So this is what we are trying to do, to create an online living library of Romanian expertise.
Thank you, Juana. Yes.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer to them.
Yes.
I had no clue that, I mean, if someone would have told me, in September that, well, we will have a national festival, I would have not believed it. But now I do have to profile our festival to an international European audience, which is absolutely great and amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Juana, also for introducing this great idea which you came up, and we all supported around here together with those which are living abroad and those which, like me and you, we lived abroad, studied abroad, and then came back, and we try to make a difference here. We are now, if we have questions, quite a lot of people are praising this work, I know. And I know that there are similar things doing there. And I keep saying that mentorship and ambassadorship, as the other projects which we are going to see from Rade and from Simona, is really making a difference in children's life. And this is exactly for what education should stand for. Thank you and congratulations again. As it's not raining, I've been kindly asked by Christy to go directly to him as he is now live from into the Timisoara main square, into the Victory Square. Yes. So, yes. Christy, you are live to everybody.
Yes, thank you, Diana. I'm not sure if you can hear the bells ringing from the cathedral. I understand that these earpods are quite noise cancelling, but it's quite an interesting atmosphere here. What you see in the background is the main Orthodox church of the city, the cathedral. And actually the square that we are in is probably the most important space symbolically for the city. It is the place where these 2 pillars of culture meet, the Orthodox church and the theater, which we will see in a moment when Rafa turns his camera on the other side. So these 2 very important buildings facing each other. And between them, what is known for us as the Corso. It is the public space that was devised at the turn of the 19th century, between 1900 and 1915, 16, I would say. So before, immediately, right before the First World War. It was designed as the main city square. All the buildings here are not older than 100 years because of this. In fact, the cathedral is not that old, really. It was built in the 30s, mainly throughout the Second World War. It was finished just as the war itself ended, it was, I would say, the last important church that our last king got to erect, King Michael. It is quite unique for the architecture in Romania, since it is a synthesis of Romanian styles, mainly Moldavian and Byzantine styles. And there is only one smaller, similar church in Bucharest, but it's, I would say, a third of the size of our cathedral. So I would say it's unique in the world in its architectural style. What we see around us, and I will start moving just to show you, you'll see that every second building is right now in process of renovation. As I said, we are preparing for the Capital of Culture festival. So the whole city, as you will see, even in Unirii Square, when we will move there, is being, let's say, prepared. It's taking on its festive clothes. Buildings are being repaired. What we see here is the main building of the rectorate. You can read there. I don't know if you can see it. It's written Politehnica on the mesh. This is the Lloyd Palace. It used to belong to the agricultural exchange. That was its main purpose when it was built. It was built in 2 years, in just 2 years, between 1910 and 1912, based on the plans of the Leopold Baumhorn, which is one of the most important architects in activating in the area at the turn of the century in Timisoara, and obviously Budapest and most of this part of Europe. And it had a really important function for the city because it was housing the, as I said, the agricultural exchange. Timisoara was the center of a very fertile plain and was very rich because of this. So it was exploiting this very important resource, but also it was turning into a modern industrialized town. And there was another quarter that was entirely dedicated to industries and small manufacturing facilities, but it's too far from us, we will not be able to see it. But I'm quite sure that during the, let's say, the Spotlight Heritage Program, it will be highlighted as one of the main neighborhoods of the city. So I would say that this house, important palace, housed the agriculture exchange only for about 30 years because after the Second World War, the Polytechnic moved in and it's been inside this building ever since. It is the main building, the rectorate. Inside, there are very interesting halls and very important for us historically. It is the Senate Hall is the place where actually the representatives of the peace conference after the First World War came and signed the division of this territory, of the Banat territory, when it was split between Romania, Serbia, and Hungary. To my left, you can see the let's say the second, I would say, or probably the first most important building of the city, the opera and the theater. I wouldn't be able to tell which one is more important, the cathedral or the opera. It depends. This is a building that was fairly unlucky throughout its history. It was built as a theater in 1875, based on the plans of Austrian architects that were specialized in theaters at the time. And unluckily for it, only after 7 years after its inauguration, it burned down almost completely, and it had to be rebuilt second time. And after another 30 years, it burned down again completely. So it's the building that we see right now was rebuilt after the 1920 fire. It was built by the famous Romanian architect Duilu Marcu in 1924. And Duilu Marcu is very important because he was the first Romanian architect that came into Timisoara after Banat and Timisoara was incorporated into Romania and built some very important projects. One was the rebuilding of the theater and of the opera, but he also imagined the first campus for the Polytechnic University. What I didn't get to say up to this point is that the Polytechnic University is celebrating this year its centennial, its 100 years of existence. It was founded in 1920 by the then King Ferdinand of Romania, who wanted to create a strong technical base in what was then a solid German town on the territory of Romania. In 1920, I would say that almost 60% of the population was of German ethnicity, and the Romanian king wanted to create a very strong pragmatical university in this type of environment. So Duilu Marcu was tasked with imagining the type of campus and the buildings for this university, which we now celebrate as being one of the oldest technical universities in Romania.
Christy?
Yes.
Yes, maybe if you would like to just briefly to mention that this is somehow also the place where we had in 1989 the revolution.
Exactly. I was going
Yes,
to
please.
say that, because I started by saying that symbolically it's probably the most important space in the city. Exactly where I'm standing here is where the crowds gathered in late December 1989. It is the place where the Romanian revolution unfolded, and for 3 days, 3 full days, Timisoara was considered to be a free city. The revolution started only later in the rest of the country, but here people were gathering and they were shouting for freedom. It was an incredible time. I was 10 years old back then. I remember coming here with my parents, and from the little things that I could understand as a child, the vibe was something that I have not witnessed since. Practically the entire populace of the city was filling up these streets, these squares, and was asking for its freedom. Of course, we all know that this turned pretty violent. The city had many martyrs. I will not go into more details, but the history was quite violent for a few days. But the balcony that we see in front of you, the balcony of the Opera House, was the place where all the demands for freedom, for a new way of organizing the state, for democracy were called. And it is one of the reasons why this building is probably the most important building of the city, because it was embedded with this vibe, with this call for action, call for freedom, for democracy. And as you can see right now, it's undergoing a process of renovation. The facade has been taken down and it will be made anew. But it will be made anew exactly as it was. There was a discussion that maybe we should go back to the historical facade. But because this happened, this very important historical event happened here on that balcony, nobody will ever dare to change the architecture, and we'll probably keep it like this for the rest of its existence. So yes, we are in a very, very important space for Timisoara, for its culture, for its, let's say, spirit of freedom and a call for democracy. Timisoara has always been a city that was probably through its multi-ethnic background, was a city that was open to new ideas, to experiment, to this idea of freedom, individual freedom and liberties.
Yes, it is called the most European city, with 14 different nationalities living here for 300 years. And just briefly, I want to say that I was in my second year as a student during the revolution, and I was there in the streets. I spent 2 nights and 3 days completely in the streets under the fire in one night. It's always with big emotion, I remember that, but this is why we are here. This is why we are part of European Union now, and we changed the complete history of the entire country. Just a bunch of 300 people in a square in December 1989. So, Christy, if you want to move on or something, please.
Yes, we will move on. We will go to the oldest square of the city. What I didn't get to say yet is that Timisoara is a city of squares. Only in the old quarter, in the Cetate district, there's 3 main squares. And of course, there are the other squares. Each satellite quarter, the industrial quarter Fabric or the port quarter Josephine, had their own main squares. So there's lots of squares, lots of parks, as you have seen, parks that are dotted along the Bega River. And we will now move towards the most important historical square, and probably the most beautiful square, in my opinion, and the place where usually the youngsters of the city meet. It's the most vibrant space that one can think of when coming to Timisoara. So see you there in about 15 minutes.
Thank you so much, Christy. Hopefully it's not raining more.
No.
So we will move now to one of my, in fact, very dear friends, which is Radu Ticiu. We share almost a similar history. So Radu, if you will like to to share your video or something like that. Yes, this is where you are. So you are spotlighted now. I hope everybody can see you. Radu teacher is one of those enablers which I was speaking this morning. And in fact, he's now a leader of changing completely the history of this region on how innovation in ICT can work. He's not an IT guy. He graduated medical school. He's a doctor, but he became, I always like to say this, we know each other for 30 years now, so I can say this to Radu. And we've been working so much together that it's so good to have him. He initiated, you know, quite a lot of projects like the Innovation Hub, the Incubator Hub, then a lot of other, the Coder Dojo recently, then BioCoder Dojo, and now in the COVID time, the Educa Teme and the Ventila Teme, which was the Ventila Teme trying to build up the first Romanian homemade medical ventilator, and with Educa Teme, he supported hundreds of children in this area with equipment which in fact came from all over the Europe places. So Radu, you have your story time. Open your mic.
Oh, that's true. That's necessary.
Yes.
So, thanks a lot, Diana, for inviting me, and I'm really glad to meet all of you. I'll show you a little bit about some of the things that I have ignited and that are really present changing, not necessarily making history, but they're offering interesting opportunities to the kids of the city. And I will also share you a little bit about how we are adapting and what we are starting to do during this COVID time. I will share some fragments of several presentations. Yeah, this one. And yeah, umbrellas are on a set today, so this time I will use them as wallpaper for the. Okay.
Present to your
present.
right.
Yes, I want to present.
To your right, you have the button. That's the easiest one.
Yeah, but that's so far from here. Good. So
teamwork, as always, Radu, between us.
Yeah. So umbrellas, as I told you, and some information that are already presented by my previous speaker. So it's important to understand that we are connected, and technology is part of the past and also of the present of the city. What's important to know about the Timisoara tech education ecosystem is that we try and we are successful in offering an open and free access to all interested kids, that it relies greatly on volunteers' involvement. It's not necessarily building institutions, but it's building activities and projects and cooperations, and that the whole community is involved, both companies, academia, the formal educational system, tech communities, and most of the major tech events, they have a section dedicated to kids. Kids are not only participants, but they are key drivers of the ecosystem activities. They are directing the type of activities we are developing. They're setting the pace. Their projects are evolving. it's also spectacular that we have now, let's say, 10 years to look back, and we are seeing these kids becoming mentors, and then they are championing various initiatives and educational context. We are trying to give a 360 technology diversity as a playground to these kids. And again, pretty important is that they are quite often learning from each other, and this makes things a lot more credible and adapted to the kids' needs. We are quite often engaging in competitional approaches, both locally, internationally. We are competing against each other, but mostly we are collaborating. There are several main directions that are easy to be recognized as main things in this tech educational ecosystem. It's the general programming, robotics with lots of space flavors, cybersecurity, bioinformatics and synthetic biology, but also the climate science technology and a little bit of activism. Coder Dojo, as Diana mentioned, is the initial project that's in the long run generating the whole diversity. At this stage, we have 18 autonomous, independent Coder Dojo clubs here in Timisoara with weekly sessions hosted by a wide diversity of venues, and we have on a regular non-COVID weekend about 400 up to 500 kids learning from 70, 80 mentors, engaging in developing special events like Mega Dojo or coolest projects. We speak code, also combining tech with social times in this summer camps. I think that I can share a little bit of vibes from a mega dojo. And coming back now, out of Coder Dojo and with a very massive interest in, especially or initially in the Mercy High School, a new branch focusing on space robotics developed with major participation to global competitions. For example, in 2018, when the last Zero Robotics global competition was organized, Timisoara was the only city with 4 teams qualified in the finals. Also, First Tech Challenge is a nationwide competition with, at this stage, 6 or 7 Timisoara High Schools sending teams that are part of them based on Coder Dojo participants. We are launching on a yearly basis the CANSAT, the model of a planetary probe, and we are also building exoplanetary rovers with Timisoara kids. In the field of cybersecurity, also we have organized several editions of academic capture the flag competition, and it became 2 years ago an international event with lots of mostly Southeastern Asian competitors trying to qualify and also joining the finals here in Timisoara. Probably the most spectacular at this stage is Biocoder Dojo. That's a unique context for education in the fields of bioinformatics and synthetic biology. It's unique in Romania and also within the global Coder Dojo network. We have weekly sessions. We have teams that have already participated and won some international competitions based on knowledge like CRISPR and all these very cutting-edge technologies. What's really cool is that our Biocoder Dojo are actively participating and presenting these fields to younger generations, and it's great that Romanian Science Festival is one of the of the events we are using to showcase the bioinformatics progress done by our kids. For this Biocoder Dojo concept, it's pretty important to bring in also speakers or guests from non-biology or non-informatics fields, and we have guys coming with presentations on ethics, chemistry, physics, bioarts, engineering, entrepreneurship, artificial intelligence, all needed or valuable for building a wide concept that can drive us towards creativity in this field of bioinformatics, biotechnologies. What I would also like to share is what happened recently in the with, for example, the kids from Biocoder Dojo during the COVID times. They have started to build cast, the Corona cast. It's a webcast on coronavirus, trying to inform other kids how to prevent, how to deal with this special time. And we have a lot of effort put in this field. Good.
Yes, this was really amazing. I need to say, yes, I need to say that this the kids explaining about Coder Dojo, the Biocoder Dojo kid explaining about the, the coronavirus and how you can do it in a language which is much more friendly for kids was really amazing. So please, educate-me.
Yeah, this is an initiative trying to open the access of kids from socially or economically marginalized families, the access to online education. We have been shocked by the fact that 7,000 kids in Timiș County, so 7,000 kids from a population of 500,000 total population are not able to get in the online education context because they were lacking either equipment or also access to internet. So we have started to collect equipment from individuals or also from companies, from schools, and we have verified them, installed the standard set of applications, including those needed in the online education setting. include them
Radu, we are losing you.
Overall on my phone, maybe now. So all these computers were prepared and sent to almost 200 kids at this stage, and they are serviced by a volunteer-run support center. So whenever a kid has any issues in using their newly received equipments, we are trying to repair or to replace what's there. Additionally to this, we are building some content that we are delivering, and we are also involving these kids in activities that are delivered by other partner organizations. And it was extremely rewarding to see kids that were only received their first laptop or desktop on, let's say, Wednesday, joining an introduction to Scratch or to Microbit on Saturday or Sunday in the same week, and being perceived as interested kids, enthusiastic and ready to learn. So we are right now building a network of kids to be involved online in various educational activities. So we are trying to build on this network of equipments, a set of services to these kids, involving them in various educational activities, trying to approach volunteers to support them and to mentor them and to coach them and to offer them something that in a non-COVID time wouldn't probably be valued or perceived as a real necessity because of the lack of understanding of the depth of the need. So yes, I think that these are the main things that I share with you at this stage. Maybe one more final touch is that the kids from Biocoder Dojo are now involved in development of online content to be delivered to younger kids in a partnership we have with the Harvard University developed lab exchange platform, and this looks like again a very attractive and maybe life-changing experience for the beneficiaries. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so
Thanks
much,
a lot.
Radu. This is really amazing. I'm always impressed by how quickly, in fact, you can gather community and you can engage them and make them do things, and hundreds of people joining you all the time to be able to do this. I'm really impressed with this, and thank you again for all your work which you're doing for making, in fact, everybody's life much more aware of this. Another, before going to Christy, I know Christy is in Uniri Square, but before going to Christy, we want to share very quickly a foundation which is behind of the funding quite a lot of this, as we also have a short video, and Simona Fitz, who is one of the leaders of this foundation, which is funding quite a lot of the projects. In fact, both the projects which we presented here, the STEM project. Simona?
Hello to you all. Thank you, Diana, for inviting me and us to this conference. So, very few words about Științescu. First of all, about the name. Științescu is a kind of Romanian name made from sciences, științe, like kind of Mr. Science. Mainly is a financing program that is developed throughout the country through community foundations. As Diana said, his main purpose is to steer projects for kids, educational projects for kids, but in STEAM areas. So now is developed in 13 cities. And also in Timisoara, our goal is to connect the local business community with the educational projects and various actors within the community that develop these projects. So based on a few guidelines and principles, we organize each year a call of projects through which we steer ideas, ideas to bring kids more close to all the sciences. And therefore, from our first edition, Timisoara Science Festival was one of our great project, as well as Mega Dojo from the first edition, Biocoder Dojo, we tried to support. So we have all kinds of projects which brings kids towards sciences. From robotics, programming, and various kinds of festivals, to also projects developed by artists that work with digital technologies, which is a novelty for Timisoara. We do believe, as Radu said, we do believe in power of networks and networks of networks. Therefore, we try to support and build a community around STEAM projects for kids. And because the pandemic caught us in right at the beginning of this year edition, we were forced to suspend the projects. All of our projects were based on project-based learning, on hands-on activities, on collaboration and steering creativity and involvement of kids and autonomous and co-creation of content. And therefore, we had to postpone a bit due to the pandemic. But in meanwhile, we partner with Radu and Educate TME and contact most of our partners of Științescu Fund to support with equipment for kids. For instance, two of our main partners donated 150 units, computer units, and the other 150 monitors. And therefore, we put forces together and try to help kids which nowadays couldn't connect with education. But besides this, I will share with you our portfolio of projects of the latest edition within Științescu. questions or any other
Thank you
comments at
so
the end.
much, Simona. Yes, we want to be able to see if we have questions at the end, as we are really worried for Christy for not keeping him too much if it starts raining again. Quite a lot of people have again congratulated you and the foundation as with Rado and Wana with the amazing work which you do. We've been working together for a while now, and I really hope that together with the university and me personally, and also the team personally, we'll be able to support even more of the project for the kids, which is something which we enjoy so much doing all the time for many years now. So thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
Christy, we are going back to you live in the Uniri Square. Is it still
Indeed.
raining there?
No, it's really nice right now. As they say, you know, save the best for last. The space, the weather, everything fits perfectly. Yeah, we somehow reached the end of our tour for today. We would have loved to show you more, but we have a limited amount of time to show you things. But right now we are in the, I would say, the epicenter of the reconstruction or the historical reconstruction of Timisoara. It's the place where the city as we know it now started in the early 18th century. And I have to put this bit into context. I said that Timisoara is a city that reinvented itself at least 3 times throughout its history. We, of course, had a medieval town, which was once even the capital of the Hungarian kingdom. King Karol Robert of Anjou had his seat here for several years. Then in the middle of the 16th century, during the Great Ottoman expansion, this whole territory, this whole area of Europe was conquered by the Ottoman Empire, and it remained under its rule for almost 2 centuries, Timisoara being a typical Oriental town, an eyalet, which had Oriental streets, Oriental architectures, mosques, minarets, and all the things that you can imagine of a typical Ottoman town. And by the beginning of the 18th centuries, the Austrians had their own big push towards the east, and they reconquered this whole area from the Ottomans during a war that was led by Eugene of Savoy. And what the first thing that the Austrians did when once they reconquered the city was to reimagine the place from scratch. This is unique for a city. It was completely the Ottoman town was completely vanquished. It was razed from the face of the earth. Nothing really remains except for small historical ruins that are dug up from time to time when they do the streets or stuff like that. So we do not have a clear idea of how the Ottoman town looked. We can only speculate. But what the Austrian did was to build a fortification, of a Vauban-style fortification, which was in fashion at the time. So they started by first fortifying the city and then building inside it using a rational grid of streets meeting at straight angles with big squares. This is the biggest square that they built. It's unusually big for such a town. And it was mainly the square where all the important, let's say, seats of power were localized. You can see behind me the Catholic Dome, which was started only 20 years after the Reconquista of this space. Let's say the first iteration of the dome was in the 1730s, and as we see it now, the building started in 1750 and was finished in 1775, so in about 25 years. The monument of the Holy Trinity, which is also important, one of the first monuments that was placed in the city in 1740. It was sculpted in Vienna and brought by barges on the Danube in the city, and it commemorates the death of the inhabitants after a great plague that hit the city in those times, in those early times. And over there we can see, maybe Rafa, you can show us the governor's palace. It is one of the most important buildings of the city, since now it houses the art museum. So all the important collections, art collections, are inside that building. It was the seat of the administration, the governor's palace, and throughout history, different governing bodies were seated inside this building until it was turned into an art museum. All the buildings around us in this very beautiful Baroque square were built mostly in the 18th century. Some of them were let's say restyled or rebuilt at the beginning of the 20th century. Behind us, if Rafa can turn around, we can see the bishopry of the Orthodox Serbian Church and also the Serbian Church. The city had a very important Serbian minority, which was represented within its gates. So as I said, a multicultural city that was made up of many ethnic groups, Germans coming here, Romanian Serbians already being here, Hungarians coming also back after the Ottomans left. A very important Jewish community that built three very nice and important synagogues, or I would say nice as architecturally nice. We cannot show them because they're a bit far from where we are right now. And many other ethnic groups, all brought here in a project to rebuild an area as almost an experiment, social experiment, economical experiment, political experiment, that has left a mark. Even today, people living here consider themselves to be first people from Banat, Europeans, and only then afterwards they think of their ethnicity, if they're Romanians, Germans, or Hungarians, I would say. So it is a very interesting social experiment what happened within our city, and yes, you have to come to see it and to experiment it. That's all I can say. I myself, my family, as or many of us, have roots in many ethnic backgrounds and speak several languages of the place. There are other two very important squares in the vicinity of the University of the Liberty Square and the St. George Square. Also very nice, filled with Baroque buildings from the area. We cannot show all of them since it would take too much of your time. We would like to end our tour here and to only hope that during the next conference, we at least will be able to provide you with a proper tour done in space, face-to-face, so that we can have a more immediate reaction from you and can answer your questions and tell you even more of the history of the place. So please do come to Timisoara. As I said, in 2022 probably, or maybe 2023, it all depends on how the European Commission decides to reschedule the whole program. We will be European Capital of Culture together with Novi Sad, the city in the immediate vicinity of Timisoara, but in Serbia. So it will be a place to visit, considering the many interesting cultural events that will be taking place during this event, one-year event. Thank you for your patience with us. We hope you've been good enough guides for you, considering the conditions that we had. If you have any questions for us, we are here to answer them regarding anything. So please feel free to ask us anything.
You've been amazing, Christy. I can't believe it, how good you've done. And you brought a tiny bit of sun, if I can see that, just a tiny bit of sun around here. So hopefully everybody enjoyed a tiny bit of city. And this city is also famous for its army. It was famous for its army. And some of the volunteers from the city have been building up, how to say, an entire coming back history. Let's make it like that. A revival.
Reenactment.
Yes,
they're called
that's
reenactment.
the word which I was looking for. The reenactment of how the history and everything was going around in so many years ago. And I will ask Vlad to share how the guard changes. So you will see now a recording of something which is happening in every weekend in Timisoara, the guard change, as it was about 300 years ago also, and 100 years ago.
prin voia bunului Dumnezeu și din ordinul Serenisimului Prince Eugeniu de Savoia, dăm de știre în ziua Domnului 12, luna mai, luminatului an 2018, tuturor locuitorilor cetății Timișoara, precum și întregului ținut al Banatului și soliilor neamurilor prezente, că astăzi se înființează regimentul de gardă al Timișoarei. Gărzile cetății Timișoara vor păzi și apăra cetatea și locuitorii ei, de la nobili la meșteșugari, de la boieri la cultivatorii darnicului și binecuvântatului pământ, precum și averile și liniștea capitalei Banatului. Regimentul de gardă va purta în semnele cetății arme, flamuri, tobe și va emite acte cu sigilul propriu. Spre știința neamurilor călătoare a cetății și a locuitorilor ei, schimbul gărzii va fi anunțat la lăsarea serii printr-o salvă de tun. Am zis, Eugeniu von Savoie. Pentru gloria cetății, foc!
Yes, thank you, Vlad. I think also we been able to see everything, a tiny bit of Timișoara here. So I hope you all enjoyed, and it's getting late. If you have any questions or remarks or something, thank you very much for all your nice words which you express in chat. And I need to thank a lot to the UPT and the CHAL team, which made this available, to Tim and Alistair, which were also here as technical support for us, and to our partners, Wana, Radu, Elena at lunchtime, which I heard she was great and amazing, doing her therapy of stretching, and back to Christy, which was amazing. And they left because it looks like it starts raining very soon again. Thank you so much. And we will see you tomorrow morning with some amazing speakers in the plenary. So don't be late. You need to join us tomorrow. Loads of other extra sessions. And in the evening, we go to a very interesting and funky place for some Romanian cooking. You will be eating sarmale virtually. And hopefully you will be able to share your plate. Either you cook it by yourself, or if not, you will be able to share what you have cooked and what you're eating, and your national drink if you have it around. So we'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Wana, Simona, and Radu, and Christy. And Rafa, she was the technical support for Christy. Thank you. Bye. Good night, everyone.